Another edition of Riding Home. Dean Legge on this side, Dylan Webber on the other. Let's talk about Kirby today. I mean, I got to say last night again, I know I talked about this last night, but today it reoccurred to me how it seemed confident and yet not completely prepared that Coach O was. What did you make of Kirby today?
I mean, he knows it's a challenge. What I think he said, I think it was last night that he said Joe Burrow was maybe the best quarterback he's gone up against. I mean, do you think that's fair? I mean, who else would be in there?
Well, you'd have
Baker.
Yeah, Baker. You'd have Deshaun. You'd have Cam Newton. You'd have you got some guys. I mean, they definitely.
Chad Kelly, I guess, to him.
Chad Kelly, yeah, for sure. They've had some players at quarterback. Aaron Murray.
Yeah, even.
Aaron Murray was really good against them in 2012. And, but anyway, I stopped your thought.
Colt McCoy. For a quarter.
But he said it was their biggest challenge, period. He didn't just say Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Well, what he said, I think also LSU was going to find the weak link in it.
He said at Georgia was his biggest challenge. So we were saying Aaron and Cam, so maybe not that. But
I think
But but that would include, Alabama, Auburn, LSU from last year, if you want to say that.
Well, this team is just so different than what they have faced. It's the biggest challenge, but
it's tough for LSU too. You heard that from Joe Burrow today and at Orgeron last night. And Joe Burrow was saying today, this is going to be tough for us. We know this is a road game. Our crowd really mattered at Tiger Stadium last year, which it did. But I get so used to away crowds that you get used to it, And someone's saying, a very knowledgeable poster on Dog Post was saying, I expect 30-40% LSU people. I don't expect that many LSU people because I haven't been to this game in 2005, 2011. 2011 was this exact same scenario. LSU was going to go no matter what. And in 2005, LSU didn't bring that many people. 2003, they didn't bring that many people. So when LSU's played Georgia, they're outnumbered pretty solidly in Atlanta, which makes sense. I mean, if this game were New Orleans, Georgia would be in trouble. It'd be an away game.
But you don't even think LSU could muster up 30%?
30% would be what? How many thousand people?
Of 80,000 people?
Well, I think it's 72 or something. I gotta be honest, I'm not totally sure how many it is, but it's not 100, so they're not gonna have 30,000 people there. I think they'll probably have between 10 and 15,000. They'll have their allotment plus a little bit.
That'd be about 21,000 if it was 72,000.
Well, 30% of that is 20?
About, yeah.
Yeah, a little more than that probably.
Yeah, 21.6 thousand.
I think it's going to be a home Georgia crowd, and it's not going to be close. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, a couple years ago, what was that?
That seems pretty.
It's hard even, but it was more Georgia than Alabama. It was way more Georgia than Auburn in 2017.
Oh yeah. That one was also easier to tell though, just because of the colors. Yeah.
Alabama a lot of times will wear white when they're playing Georgia on the road, so they won't blend in. But I think LSU is going to have to. This won't. There's a lot really to discuss on this LSU side of things because. When you look at what LSU has been able to accomplish, people will say, well, everybody likes to find ways to shit on teams. And
especially people's own fans.
They're very good at that, yeah. I don't know if LSU fans are kind of the king of that. Georgia is really good at that. Georgia fans are really good at that. But to me, when you look at this LSU situation, people say, well, they played Auburn at LSU. They played the Gators at LSU. And I'm like, well, all right. They played Texas on the road. And you can say what you want to about Texas. That was the second game of the season. We didn't know for sure that Texas was going to go back to being their old selves. That was a huge game at the time. A big, big moment. And not only that, they play Alabama every year. And this year they won in Tuscaloosa. So they may not have played in the SEC championship the last 2 years like Georgia has. They may not have played in the national championship lately like Georgia has. But they've played in the Fiesta Bowl. That these are all big games. The Fiesta Bowl was a big game. Every Alabama LSU game is a big game. Every LSU Gator game is a big game. Auburn LSU.
LSU Texas was a big game.
LSU Texas was a huge game. So I don't buy that they don't, now Orgeron said, hey, maybe there's something to that. Okay, I don't buy that either, though.
You don't?
Go ahead.
I mean, I wouldn't say I...
You think there's anything in Joe Burrow's blood that is going to be him not being ready for this moment? Now, maybe someone else at LSU, sure. I just think you're talking about anyone that wants to dismiss Georgia's chances aren't really thinking it through solidly, I don't think. And there's a lot of different reasons why.
But I don't...
I think LSU should win.
Yeah.
But I think the dismissal of Georgia is a little bit, silly.
Well, yeah, I think most people, at least in the Georgia area, would agree with that. I think people in the SEC would agree with that, too. I mean, national people will go on their tangents about how awful Georgia is and how overrated they are, but to dismiss a...
How can you say they're overrated, though? Compared to Alabama? Or compared to who?
I don't know. They just...
Baylor?
Utah, maybe. Utah and Oklahoma.
I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert on Utah's schedule. They lost to SC. They got a win over UW. They're going to have to deal with Oregon. So if they win, Oklahoma, they're hard to trust, generally speaking. I mean, Georgia's got 3 what will probably be top 15 wins. I'm not sure who else in the top 15 has 3 top 15 wins. Not Clemson, not Alabama, not the Gators.
LSU.
So LSU would have Florida,
Alabama,
and Auburn, right? So Georgia and LSU are in that same stretch. Ohio, I mean, I don't need to be told how good Ohio State is. I can see. And, with Clemson, even with Dabo's feelings being hurt sort of on a weekly basis, they're still really good. Their competition level is not the highest on earth for sure. But, I just, and you can't, what is it called, transpose or transcribe or whatever. You can't take the A&M game and say, oh, Clemson beat them by 14, LSU beat them by 100, Georgia beat them by 7? 6?
Well, yeah, they're just completely
different games.
Yeah, different games. And I think you can...
Although the LSU result was amazing.
I think you can take...
They look like the best team in the country.
I think you can take bits and pieces from it. I don't think you could go straight up, just look at this game, look at this game, look at this game, and compare them all. But I think you can take bits and pieces. I think you can look at LSU, A&M, and say, holy shit, LSU beat the living shit out of them. And Georgia did not.
And LSU said they played their best game. I want to know when Georgia's going to play its best game of the season. Like, when was Georgia's best game of the season? Tech? Notre Dame?
Maybe.
Florida?
I think they played. I think they played
well against
better.
Auburn.
I think they played better against Florida than they did Auburn or Notre Dame.
And that game means the most to Georgia fans and Georgia program. All
Florida?
this stuff.
Yeah, definitely,
for sure. No confusion there. But Kirby today was just, really matter of fact about a lot of things.
Yeah, he seemed pretty honest today. I don't think. I don't know. He didn't seem worried at all, but he knows what kind of game this is and the task that is in front of them.
Yeah, they got some issues for sure.
Yeah.
This is going to be about, can you slow them down?
Yeah, they're going to have to keep this game in the 20s.
Yeah, someone was talking about on the website, someone was talking about on Dog Post, hey, they're going to have to score 30 points. They're not scoring 38 points against LSU.
Yeah, and winning. And winning at least.
No, I mean, I think LSU's defense has played bad at times. I mean,
but they have talent out there.
They do.
They have
I was
guys.
just going to get to that. I mean, when you start talking about what they did against Texas, that was not great. Ole Miss, that was not great.
Vanderbilt,
that was not great. I mean, there are several instances of their defense not playing well. And I was going to say, lately they've played pretty well. They played really well against Texas A&M. Against Ole Miss, it wasn't good. Against Arkansas, I don't know that it was great, and he allowed 20 points to a team that is just not
atrocious.
Good, yeah.
Not good is generous. I would go atrocious, awful.
So there are holes there, but they're not. People making LSU's defense out to be really bad is probably the same group making Georgia's offense to be really bad. Both of these are in the, I think, mid-40s in their respective national rankings. Now, you got the statistics. Grab that. I might be a little bit off on that. It might be like mid-50s.
Mid-50s.
For scoring. Yeah, well, anyway, just kind of see if you can find it. But it is... Maybe on the second page, too. No, maybe not. They're not... I mean, like, Georgia has exploded at times. One thing that was interesting today that happened was Jake Fromm said, hey, we kind of give it to our defense from time to time in practice. Because he was being asked, hey, what gives you confidence that I'm thinking of the SEC one. What gives you confidence that y'all can explode? You keep talking about how y'all can explode. Well, our defense might not like me saying this, but we give it to them pretty good in practice sometimes.
Well, it doesn't.
I'd be curious to see that.
I believe that. The offense has talent.
It does.
They are capable.
People are over focusing on George Pickens right now.
Agreed.
There's a lot of questions about George Pickens.
Yeah, and they get him second half too. I mean,
do you think they're going to be down 20 at the half?
No.
And even if they are, I mean, it's probably over, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, LSU's...
I mean, how are they going to come back from that? Because LSU's going to keep scoring.
LSU's defense is bad enough to to give that up, I think.
Yeah.
At times, but I don't know if Georgia could come back from that.
Here's the other, this isn't actually an important, statistic. This is a meat and potatoes statistic. Georgia is 7-3 against top 10 teams with Kirby Smart as its head coach.
Who are the three losses?
That's a lot of wins.
Alabama
twice.
And Auburn once?
And Auburn once, I think. What? I mean, that's a lot of silence right there.
7-3, that's impressive.
Depeche Mode.
One in the SEC championship, one in the national championship. I don't know how much that translates, though.
It doesn't translate, but it does show that they're ready.
Yeah.
They typically are ready for those games. This is not going to be a noon game against South Carolina.
No.
13-7 win over number 9 Auburn, 2016. 2017, blown out on the Plains, 40-17. Number 10 Auburn takes out Georgia. You can read the rest. Number 6 Georgia over Auburn in the SEC championship game.
28-7. Georgia over Oklahoma, double overtime, 54-48. Holy shit, 54-48.
Yeah.
Lost to Alabama, 26-23, national championship. Georgia over Florida in 2018, 36-17. Georgia over Kentucky, 34-17. Alabama over Georgia, 35-28. Then Georgia over Notre Dame, 23-17. And Georgia over Florida, 24-17.
If you play this game in the 20s, Georgia's probably going to win.
I would think so.
I mean, I'm all for LSU being... They're really good. They can lose this game and still win the national championship, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I see that because it sticks them probably right into the Ohio State situation. I was talking with somebody at Georgia today. They're not so convinced if Georgia wins this game, they don't play in Atlanta. Because the question is, does Ohio State want to go out west? And they've beaten Notre Dame out there. They've beaten Texas out there. They won a national championship at the Fiesta Bowl. They play there a lot. Their fans will travel. It doesn't matter where it is. And does it make it better to say to LSU in that scenario, hey, come on out to Phoenix?
I wonder.
I think it's not a cut and dry that they play in Atlanta.
No, because do you think? I guess it comes to a matter of where they would have the better opportunity to get their fans and fewer LSU fans, if that was the case. And I feel like LSU fans would be more likely to go to Atlanta and show out in Atlanta than they would to Phoenix.
You can drive to Atlanta from the South. Can you really do that to Phoenix.
You could,
people
but
like me and you could because we're crazy. But
I think it would be fewer amount of people. I think Ohio State fans are going to show out to either one.
So I went to the Clemson-Ohio State game in 2014, whenever it was. And that was when Ohio State had gone undefeated, had but was not eligible to play for the Big Ten championship. And they played in the Orange Bowl against Clemson. The whole stadium was Ohio State people.
Was that 20? Wait.
I can't remember what year it was.
It wouldn't have been 2014.
It might have been the
2014 is when they won.
2014, Clemson beat. It was 2013.
Yeah.
It was a 2013 season. And that was a solid Clemson team. They certainly weren't bad. But Ohio State people will travel. They're like Georgia and LSU too. You know, Clemson is a smaller fan base, so you couldn't really expect Clemson to, you know, just sort of dominate. I'm going to take a right here. Any other things from today that you recall that Kirby kind of... or even the kids. The kids are much less interesting these days.
Tyler
Very
Simmons,
much robots.
Tyler Simmons was talking about how they just haven't gotten a chance to unleash the playbook yet. He said there's still a lot of the playbook that they haven't even used.
What does that mean?
I don't know, man.
Bro, we're in game 13 right now. I mean...
They're saving it for when it matters most.
Do you remember in Star Wars when they tested out the Death Star on what planet was it?
In New Hope?
Yeah.
Alderaan.
Yeah.
They blew that shit up. Oh, yeah.
You're telling me you're waiting for the Death Star until now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Death Star was within moments of being ready to attack the Rebel base.
It was fully operational.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't fire the button. Georgia's you don't wait.
Oh, maybe the offense wasn't fully operational. Maybe now it's fully operational.
Well, you better get around the moon.
They heading
or
there.
You're in real trouble. I mean, we're at the point where, you know, we're barreling down, what was it, Beggar's Canyon or whatever? When Luke is, you know, Star Wars references left and right here. There is no unleashing the playbook.
Maybe there is. Maybe there is. Probably not. I think there's just unleashing the offense. Or just...
I will be a little curious if, you know, if for some reason something happens with Swift.
Oh, Swift.
Do you get ready to roll with Zamir and say, all right, this guy, we know he's good. He's been, you know, dealing with this injury or whatever for a long time, coming back from it.
To that of Brian Herring.
I mean, Brian can get the job done too. He's just not Swift.
I don't think Zeus is either.
No, not
this
right
year.
Now.
Yeah.
Not right now. All right, we're going to wrap up this edition of Riding Home. Make sure to subscribe. Check out the other videos from the LSU playlist, and we'll see you on the other side.